Stevens' team, who is on the third round of the game, quite a run over the last few games, which I'll bring up to speed to shortly. And against the team in the gold and black, which is the Thompson team. Their outfits make them look like superheroes, but I think Chad's getting that.
Okay, yep, we should be good.
Okay,
perfect. Thank you.
He won that. Had an hour and a half break.
So she said $25.
Stuart Thompson is a division champion. And he won that game. Chad's team is now playing for the 21st and RPA. Meanwhile, Thompson's team is a relatively relaxing game. I'm watching on the live feed. And now they're both out there getting ready to find I'm expecting them to play this relatively open the first couple minutes. That's Chad. This Marianne's in. Kendall's team hasn't been on the ice, as I mentioned. Chad's team is in their 21st day, so they're probably feeling out of touch with what's going on with Chad's. Probably wondering what his band at home looks like because it's going all day. So I'm expecting them to run it all now. Wide here.
Okay, thanks, buddy.
Rollout is going to be, again, what we would expect in a big game. This is the biggest game in both these teams.
I'm so proud of you guys.
We're earlier in the Champions League, 3 semifinals.
Good job.
Peter Burgess is a former provincial champion. Graham Brecken is a former provincial champion. Ian Fisnell-LeBlanc. Kelly Mattelstad is a former world champion. World runner-up, actually, Canadian champion.
Is that the one from Lulu?
And he also went to two runners. One he was runner-up in 2005 and then again in 2010.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we got another one back. There's just going to run it up and back.
Johnny, where'd the rest of your team go? Bail them or what?
Looks like the ice is pretty straight this evening.
Hungry Hut?
It's interesting to see the directional sweeping. People are wondering why it's only one sweeper. I found it a number of years ago that the sweep inside straighten it. So sometimes you'll see the way that it's curling the rock very that way, and you'll see the sweeper encourage it. Or the opposite, if they want to straighten it. So if you watch this, Peter on the left side there, Burgess, he would be on the straightening side. You see the way he's trying to straighten it. And sometimes if it's a little light, as you see it here, then you'll see the second sweeper try to help it along.
Fair. I can see that. Sorry, you jumped. Back on track. I can definitely see that. The jump.
Any vegans here? No?
So Kendall's probably thinking at this point in time, where do I find a spot that these guys might miss, considering this is the second time they've been on this sheet today. So sometimes you throw them out to the side a little bit. There's a lock back there, so they're just hoping for probably a mistake that would happen.
No.
Get Christy thrown
But I mean, better.
Hopefully, from Kendall's perspective, maybe they'll get a better and get a cheap juice in the first half.
Yeah, like still not free. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, 100%.
It's like, no. Yeah, it's so close. I know you want to. Are you now? Take a piece of photo of this time.
One in six.
Like that one slipped through. Chad's going to play
Yeah, I was gonna
a
say.
hit on it. Yeah, I guess he's not completely confident that that's all the way through. So he's going to try to hit and stay right there, maybe go in front of his own. And instead he takes it out.
It would be an improvement on both sides.
It would be an improvement on both sides.
Wait, no. Yeah, girl.
People are saying they can't hear.
I think that here.
Okay, had some technical issues there. I'm gonna redo this. Martin Gavin here coming to you live from the Dartmouth Curling Club in the semifinal of the Deloitte Tankard. We have Chad Stevens' team, who is on their third game of the day. They played 9 o'clock this morning, and they played 10 ends against Matt Manuel, and they pulled that one out. So they had an hour and a half break. They took a little bit of time, rested some weary bones, and went out, and then they played against the defending Tankard champion, Stuart Thompson, and then finally ended that game after another 3 hours and 20 minutes. So they're walking out there to play their third game of the day. So they're in their 21st end right now, and pretty confident that they're probably feeling weary, but that drive to go to a Briar is deep and will make anybody want to work hard. They're up against a team which is well known in Nova Scotia, the Kendall Thompson team. They're wearing the superhero-looking jackets that they have. This is a great team. They work hard on the circuit, and they play very well together. This end has been very wide open. As I mentioned, we had some technical difficulties, so we couldn't hear for the longest time. But so they've been playing this wide open, which I'm sure doesn't bother Chad and company as when you're in your 21st end of the day. Meanwhile, the Thompson team is in their first end of the day, so it's an advantage to Chad's team in a way because they've been on the ice all day. But I think anybody who is played the game and has played 3 games in a day would say they'd rather be the team that's well rested than the one that's out there on their 21st end. I was doing some math earlier. By the end of this game, assuming it goes 10 ends, Chad will have been standing in the house for about 10 and a half hours. So that's a long day. I hope he has some good orthotics in there, and the rest of his team, they're sweeping all these rocks, and it's only one sweeper at a time now because of directional sweeping, but you work extra hard, so everybody's going to look a little weary. So it looks like Ken will be looking for the blank here with the hammer in the first end. And I think you're going to see this for a couple ends. I don't think anybody's going to go too crazy too quick. Chad may, where they have a feeling for the ice, but I would expect that Kendall's team will want to play it relatively open. The other semifinal, which you may see on the next sheet over, is Colleen Jones. Yes, that's right, Colleen Jones. Former world champion in women's and in seniors, and she has a young front end, and they're playing in the semifinals to go what probably be her 450th final in Nova Scotia, and that's been a real interesting story throughout the week. The round robin ended up with an interesting setup where Jamie Murphy ended up in first place and has the bye directly to tomorrow's final. And then there was, at the end of the week, Kendall Thompson had a 5-2 record, which gave him the bye into the semifinal. And then there was 3 teams tied at 4-2, that being Matt Manuel, Chad Stevens, and Stuart Thompson. was an interest. The last draw was very interesting of the round robin because several teams, including both Chad and Stewart, could have been eliminated, or they could have gotten byes to the final, depending on who won and who lost. So a couple losses, couple wins created this need for 2 tiebreakers, which were played earlier today, and then that Chad was successful coming through those and is now out there once again playing for his Tankard life. So he's used to living on the edge.
Do you guys still have the house plans? Yep. Are you still thinking like that?
Did you seen that coming?
The house plans that I'm putting down is not. And the plans that Joel showed me was
Kendall's just going to look to hit this and roll out, take the hammer into the second end. That which would mean that Chad would be without hammer in his 22nd end of the day. Oh, they're working on this one pretty hard. Might have got this one going, and no, that's I know when I used to skip, the way I used to try to make the blanks was try to stay, because then I generally roll out. So maybe Kendall should have tried that on this one, because he took one. So that's a cheap force. Wasn't a lot of rocks in play, but it's the ice might be a little different than when Kendall played last time. Michael Brophy will be leading us off here in the second end. Michael is, I coached Michael a couple years ago. He's a fantastic player. He started playing lead when he went to Kendall's team 2 years ago, and he's really adopted the position. Very good at the tick shot, and he's an amazing sweeper and great teammate. So it looks like we're going to get a few rocks in play this end. All right, here goes the guard. Game on. That's perfect. Just a foot off the rings. This is a great place for that guard. And Chad says, okay, I'm ready to go. I've only played this intern 200 times today. Kendall Mandelstadt's a left-hander. Southpaw come from the other side of the hack, so this is actually his out turn. Oh, this one looks like it might be coming up a little bit short. It's going to be good positioning though, even if that's not in the rings. If it's clear of that yellow one, which it looks like it's going to be, and able to be raised, then Chad was just wishing it off there at the end. That's a good spot. The idea being there is that blue rock is always there for Chad to promote later. Michael's going to kind of come around here. Probably top 4 foot. I didn't see the indication here. I don't think there was an indication. I think he knows where they wants it. The early ends, the ice has been very quick. I played in this event earlier this week, and the ice has been very quick. A 420 split. You know, everybody loves a good 420 split. And it's often slows down a little bit later in the games. There's some challenges with some of the middle pieces, middle parts of the ice. It's gotten a little bit slower, and that happens in these higher end events. You know, the broom heads are changed before every game at these events, and they really rip the pebble off. And when people are sweeping hard because their national life is on the line, they rip the pebble off and it gets flat, which is always a challenge for the ice makers. Chad's looking to just tap this rock back, roll in behind a little bit. These rocks are shaping up behind the tee line, which is never something you want as a as a skip, especially if you're the person without the hammer, because that means that if the rock's behind the tee line, of course you could draw to it and create the situation where you can't get it out. Now, where that rolled away a little bit, that's great. Be interesting to see if Kendall plays this roll under. Because as I mentioned, if they roll under behind those two guards and they're behind the tee line, then Chad can drop a freeze on that, and Kendall could be in a situation. And looks just a little bit on the straight side. That rolling wide actually probably doesn't bother Kendall a whole lot. At this point in time, he wants to stay away from those guards unless he can plant one at the top of the 8-foot. We're going to get probably just a nose hit here is probably all Chad wants to see. There's no real place to roll. If he rolled, like I mentioned, it would be back at the 12-foot. Not the place you probably want to have it. And they're trying to hold it straight, so maybe they are going to get a roll over there. Oh, no, that's perfect. That's it. Kendall wants to stay right there. Kendall's happy to see this just go up and back here right now in this particular situation. Because he doesn't want to get into playing with those rocks up front. This one seems to be right on the old beakaroonie here. All kinds of people texting me here offering to come and be the second commentator. I just let anybody know if they want to come do it. I'm more than happy to have a partner. So that rollout's going to create an interesting situation where now Kendall can put one of these rocks right there at the top of the 4-foot, and that's going to create a situation, if made, where Chad will have to make a decision whether he wants to clear that front off or run in that blue rock, which is at about 1 o'clock, into the back. Bryce Evers throwing here. Bryce is the mixed doubles champion, 2-time defending, I think, maybe 3 times. Game I've never played, but I did watch a few games of it this year, and I find it extremely confusing. But it's looks like it's a lot of fun. Just not finishing around those tight guards here tonight. Ice got a little bit straighter as the week goes on. The ice technician and company usually sharpen the rocks at the beginning of the week, so they curl a little bit more, and especially when the pebble is fresh. And as the week goes on, that wears off a little bit, and the rocks get a little bit straighter. It's not generally ice. It happens. You see it oftentimes when you're watching the Briar or the Hearts, where at the beginning of the week they're taken well outside the 12-foot to draw to the button, and by midweek they're into the 8-foot. The other thing that it does, the great thing about it when it is sharp, is that it takes those high hard run-throughs and you just take center of rock, but at the beginning of the week, later in the week. But at the beginning of the week you have to allow for a little bit of curl. This looks also like it's going to be behind the tee line. So it's coasting along pretty good there tonight. This is probably not what Kendall wants to see. And Chad's probably not overly upset with that because it's half available. So now Chad can actually tap that rock back, roll under that cover, and be in front of the tee line, which is the trifecta of perfect situation when you're looking to score 2 points with the hammer. Graham's going to try to hold this out there. This looks like it's going to be pretty good. I'm expecting to see Kelly hop on. The Chad must have felt that he couldn't get under there, so he's just going to roll it wide, that's a good call. There's stands out for some of the Hardy fans are out in the ice shed and seem to be drinking some kind of product. I don't know what it is. I assume it's a New Scotland type thing. And lots of smiling, but looks pretty cold out there to me. Right, so Kendall's going to look probably hit this right on the nose so Chad doesn't have the opportunity to roll underneath. Looks like it's a little on the heavy side. Michael's going to try to hold it here. And that looks like it's going to be a good shot. It'll be interesting to see what Chad does here, actually, because if he could roll under, but then Kendall would have the opportunity to curl around those two rocks and sit in the 4-foot, and he'd have backing. I'm actually surprised. I thought Chad might actually just lob a draw in there. But, he's in his 22nd end of his curling day, and I'm in my second end of commentating, so obviously he knows better than I do. Peter's holding the broom probably 3 inches off, so we're probably going to see some decent weight on this, or it's straight. I don't know the spot. No, looks like he's got a decent weight on that. Oh, and a little rollout. Now this is going to create a situation for sure. Kind of going to try to lob one in around there. If you can get it just. Doesn't want to be quite to the button, probably just in front of the button. 3/4 buried to fully buried. Oh, yeah. The moans are. Kim Kelly just fell down on the other sheet and just absolutely being the professional she is makes the shot absolutely perfect. Kendall's got a 420 split, so that should be pretty good. 420 is usually the good number this time of the game. Well, it's generally a good number, but it's a real good number this time of the game. Looks like it might slip behind the tee line, but that looks like it's going to be a solid force for Chad, unless he decides to run that blue one in there, which he's looking at right now, and he might preserve the blank. If he does run that blue in, he wouldn't be looking to stick it for his point, because if he's going to go for 1 point, he would just draw for it. But in this case, if he runs that blue in and gets the blank, he's saved last rock. And there's no guarantee. That draw to the button's no guarantee either. This is the type shot Chad really likes. I don't want to jinx him here, but he's known for his run backs. He knows how to move granite. He's been a wrecking ball today, taking out of the team. So I wouldn't bet against him on this one. There's lots of woeing going on right now. And it's going to be a steal. So Kendall Thompson goes up by 2 points, heading into the third end of the Deloitte Tankard semifinal, which oddly enough is being played on the sheet that has Scotties, because Kruger Products is the sponsor of the ladies' side nationally in this event. So the reason for those the branding on there is that the final for the Deloitte will be played on the Deloitte sheet, and the final for the ladies tomorrow will be played on the sheet that we're on now, sheet C, which has the Scotties products. So Michael Brophy, a quick turnaround here. He's right back into it. Kendall's going to have to put one in the house here, and he's going to say, all right, Chad, it's time for you to pitter-patter, and you want to score some points. You're going to have to throw up some corner guards and take a risk or two. I'm sure Chad's up for that challenge. Just slips slightly behind the tee line. That rock probably won't be there at the end of the end. It's not going to be the one that matters.
They do, yeah. Boys are supposed to carry it low on your body. You seem pretty high on your body, so. That's pretty high. I feel like
Kelly Nettelstadt playing his out turn. For the right-handers, it would be an in turn. They're going to be looking to put this probably halfway. Looks like it might slip deeper than that. A lot of teams, it depends on what your preference is. Teams that play more draws will have a tendency to leave these a little bit longer. The teams that like the run backs, they usually want these a little closer so that they can raise those up later. But the other thing you're seeing oftentimes with these close guards is that people will double guard them because people have got so good at these run backs over the last number of years. And the ice conditions are so good that you can make those run backs. So you may see Chad actually double guard this. Michael's going to drop one. This looks a little on the heavy side, but Michael's going to drop one just top 4 foot. But I think he might be slipping a little bit long. There's been a lot of the rocks have been played down that particular path, and you can see that it's really getting faster there. It's actually slipping up slightly ahead of 420 right now. See if I can get a split time on one of these. A shout out where I got a chance to my friend and teammate Brent McDougall, who I understand is a little bit under the weather today. Brent, I hope you're feeling better really soon. So they're hoping to go around this. No, are they double guarding it? I missed the call. Nope, they're going around. It's got to be hard on those arms, legs, and shoulders. Have done a lot of sweeping today. You think they would have put their 5th in, but apparently they don't have a lot of faith in that guy. He's sitting beside me. Hears everything I'm saying. So that was just a little bit on the short side. Kendall's going to have to deal with it, though, and I got a good feeling for that. He'll probably try to hit and roll to the other side. Ideally here, Kendall would like to force Chad to 1. He's not thinking steal at this point in time. He'd like to get the advantage of last rock back with what we call a cheap hammer, and if he can roll that 3rd rock in the rings, he's going to put Chad in the situation where he's going to be forced to take a score here. So he's going to want to turn up the volume a little bit and try to get a 2 right away. Chad's a patient player. He doesn't generally take risks when he doesn't have to. Down 2 playing the 3rd end, he's probably going to have to start thinking, okay, I might have to make something happen here very soon. Chris McRae bangs his broom there. It's like almost as Captain America, just to make the rock stop from the other end. Maybe they must have shook it. There's been a few picks. You see the folks that are walking around on the ice. As I mentioned earlier, it's when they reach this level in an important game, an important event like this, which leads to the Tim Hortons Briar in Kingston, the broom heads are changed on a regular basis, and if that doesn't mean anything to you, a fresh broom head really digs into the ice and rips the pebble. And these broom heads have been designed by Curling Canada and the World Curling Federation, who also tax them accordingly. and what they do is that they've made it so that all the broom heads are even. So even though all the brooms are different styles, they all have the same fabric. So everybody's sweeping with the same material. But when you put a new broom head on for about half a game, they're very aggressive and it really rips the pebble off. And when you have these guys are in the gym all the time, and they're in Chad's case, I think he's on his 10th game of the event. Or 11th maybe, no, 10th. So these guys are strong and they really rip the pebble off. Like if you're playing, like, say, I don't know, Friday night Teachers League, which I play with my wife, who she wanted me to mention that she's undefeated in Teachers League, so I'll get that out there because she wanted to have her moment in the sun. But when we play in that league, the people keep their broom heads on for about 3 to 6 years. But in the case of these guys, they change them every game. Used to be when you'd be at some major events, they would change. You'd see them changing their heads at the 5th end break. Well, the rich teams did, it's kind of that was great, I guess, for some. Sometimes it'd change them more than that, depending on the ice conditions. But now that you're only allowed to change your broom heads at the beginning of the game, and you're not allowed to swap brooms amongst players either. So in the old days, you used to see them handing the brooms back and forth, and there was hair brooms, and people say, "Oh, what about corn brooms?" Yeah, there was corn brooms, but you don't see that anymore. So suspected Chad's gone to the middle here, and he's using those yellow rocks that were behind the tee line as an advantage for him, and Kendall has tried to smoke them a couple times, and now Chad's lying too, so he's turned that around.
I don't think any one of us disagrees with you. I mean, for us personally watching this,
Yeah, this doesn't but
no, watching somebody is stressful. Or like,
There's the reigning mixed doubles champion throwing here, Bryce Evers. He's going to try to hit this and roll just behind that blue rock that's at the top of the 4-foot. And if he can get under that and in front of his own yellow, which he didn't do, it would be almost impossible to remove it. But Chad still has to look at 2 yellow rocks in the rings, and I believe if he plays that, he can lie 2, but they would be grouped. So Chad's just going to bounce these around, jiggle them up a little bit, jiggle it just a little bit, as they say, and he's going to try to make it such that the angles work out more in his favor. Well, the ice shed's filling up out there, folks. If you want to come down and get a seat here, Dartmouth Curling Club, it's filling up It's filling up. Just letting you know. It's $5 at the door, but it's worth every nickel. We're really working on this one. Looks like it just might be starting to come down a little bit. The ice has been peaking around the 3rd or 4th end, and a big part of that is that the ice is put in, and then there's a bunch of practice that happens on it, and then you start playing and sweeping, and it's hard to make that last throughout the game. I got the ice maker sitting beside me, so if I said anything mean, you'd hear a smack, and then you wouldn't hear anything for a while. So this is probably not what they wanted to have, because now they've got that blue is effectively working as a guard for Kendall, and he's going to probably look to make it so that he can't do a double promotion with the center line on the 12-foot onto the rock and the 4-foot. So be talking this one over a little bit. Oh, we're gonna have a conference. So just a shout out to our sponsors here at the 2020 Scotties Tournament Provincial Tournament of Hearts and the Deloitte Tankard. Of course, at the end of this event, there will be a happy team that will be getting Purple Hearts, and Purple Hearts is what every curler wants to have and receive in their life. And on the team on Chad Stevens' team, they actually have 4 Purple Hearts. Peter has 1, Graham has 1, and Kelly has 2. Kendall Thompson's team, those folks haven't actually been there yet to the Briar, so they're looking to get their first Purple Heart, which is always the most special Purple Heart to any player. Now, when I say Purple Heart, that's actually goes way back. It goes back to the very first Briar in 1927, when they gave Gold Hearts, as a matter of fact, to the winners, who was from the Halifax Curling Club. And over time, the sponsor changed it to, there was a patch, which was a purple patch, which was in the shape of a heart, and that was actually advertising a brand of their tobacco product, which of course is bad, but that was the sponsor at the time, and it was Briar Tobacco was the name of the actual product, and it had a purple package, thus the Purple Heart. So Bryce has dropped that about halfway. So now Chad's going to have to question whether he can make it on the what would be a right-handed out turn if it curls and not enough. As I mentioned, it's a little straighter tonight, so that might not finish. And the thing is as that middle part of the ice, as it gets a little bit flatter, you can do a little more with the brooms, but it's still pretty crisp right now, so you can't really carve it as much. Chad's looking to, what he indicated there was he was just going to put one in front of the blue which would be on the left-hand side of the sheet from the home end, and with the idea that they could promote that later. Peter, who likes these in-off shots a lot, is looking pretty closely at that yellow rock and wants to come off of that, and the angle is very good for that. Looks like they've decided on that quarter free shot, or even if this stops top 12 foot, somewhere where there's an angle. They've always got that off the top shot as well. But ideally, they want to see this just on the edge. Ooh. Maybe I may have missed the call here. Maybe he is playing the in off. Well, we'll see what he throws here. Looks like their 5th missed the call too, so we'll find out in a minute. No, he's playing that in off. Okay, well, I knew Peter liked that by the way he was looking at it. Kelly Metalstats sweeping his 230th rock of the day. Oh boy, he didn't hit much of that one. That one curled a lot more than they thought. Chad didn't have very much ice on that either. I don't think Peter was tight. I think they just got a little bit cross-signed on that one with the ice. Well, the other thing that Chad's team's got to be, and Kendall's team has to be aware of too, is that on the right-hand side of the sheet, there's a blue rock which is unencumbered to get to that yellow rock which are buried behind those 2 out front. So Chad always has that options, and both Peter and Chad like those type of shots, and since they play them a lot, they're good at those angles. Chad's up next. It's on the out turn side for him, so and that's his preferred shot for those ones for sure. So Kendall's got to factor that in, because if Chad ever made that in and got both of those yellows in the back, that would actually be a 3 score. So Kendall's going to look at bringing this in so that he can out-count one of definitely the top blue, if that, trick shot, as some people might call it, but I wouldn't call it that, because I've seen Chad and Kendall make those all the time, so I guess they're not tricks for them. Alrighty here. Let's see if we get a little split time here. Alright. 383, so this is either heavy or it's or it's coming down a little bit. And I think it's the latter. I think it is coming down. It kind of peaks out at 420, and then it'll come back. And it should hold around this 383 for a while. And they haven't played a lot in the middle, so it may hold up tonight. But there's been 3 games on this sheet today. So, you know, it's seen a lot of use. It's scraped. They're scraped after every draw, but that's a lot of sweeping. It looks like Chad's gonna. We talked about this shot a little bit earlier, or I talked to myself about it, and he's not sure whether he can get in there. I could see what he was saying. But if he can get in there, even if he gets in close, he's going to set up 2 angles. I don't know if he can get off that side one. No, he can't. But he's going to set. What he's trying to do here is set up 2 shots. One, that way Kendall can't take away both. He'll have to decide which one does he want to guard, whether that's the wider angle raise in or the one that Chad's going to put in play here now. So it's smart skip, Chad. He's been around a long time. He many times you'd be watching Chad Stevens and you're like, okay, well, they're down 3, that's it. And then you look over later and he's buying the other guys a drink and you say, why? Is that what happened? It's like, oh no, Chad did this and that. So he's a wily veteran. No, I don't think he likes being called a veteran, but that's what happens when you get older. Somebody called, there's a couple seniors teams in this event this week. Somebody called one of them a grizzled veteran. I think it was Brent McDougall was called a grizzled veteran. I don't know if Brent would like that. He probably feels that way today, maybe. But those veterans are sneaky. Alan O'Leary's team was in this as well, and they're a Canadian senior champion. And you want to talk about veterans. They like rocks in play. You look over, there'll be 16 rocks in play. So Chad put that on the side of that yellow one, which really does a lot of good things for him. They're going to guard this, of course, which we just talked about, but there's always that option of this blue one being run in, which they're going to look at. And now he can actually hit the side of that and score a deuce, or I don't know if he can nut it on the side of it and get 3, but I think he can definitely get 2 out of it. Kendall's just going to try to drop this. Longer the better here on this one, actually. Like, as long as you have the right line. It's probably he's going to be looking at putting this somewhere around the 4-foot line at about the halfway point. It looks like it's over curling a little bit here. So they're going to go to the 4-foot. And that looks like a really nice shot. And actually, I think he's lying 2 right now. So,
Nice shot, Kendall.
as you heard from the background there, Kendall made a nice shot. So 1 rock left to come for Chad Stevens. Kendall Thompson is lying 2, looking to make his first ever Brier final. Chad was in the Brier final just a few years ago. I don't know what year it was. Trying to think here. It might have been 2017. And lost the final to Jamie Murphy on a steal, actually, on the last shot. So that was. And Kelly Metalstat was with him in that team with Paul Fleming and Cameron McKenzie. All of who were in this event this week. 2 of them on the ice now, 1 waiting in the final, and 1 sitting at the table behind me having a product. So lots of options here, and I don't know if any of them are good. Well, we're going to throw something here, and we'll see what happens. I think he's trying to play the yellow onto the blue, onto the yellow, onto the yellow, across the blue, missed the yellow in the back. Can't believe they left him this. Well, No, went across stop. I don't think that one was there. Well, 4-0 deficit, which is the same situation that Chad put on Stuart Thompson earlier today, so I'm sure that, and Stuart came back and made it very close, and ultimately it turned out that it wasn't a victory for him. And same situation in the earlier game. Chad was up, and Matt Manuel came back and made it tied coming home. So in a 10-in game, being down 4 isn't the end of the world. It's tough though when you're on your third game of the day and you get down 4. The adrenaline will start to drain a little bit, and you look at these guys in their superhero jackets, and they're fresh, so it's got to be a little bit draining. I'm sure Chris Grancelli, their fifth, will be going out there and giving them some good pep talks here at the 5th in, and I'm sure he'll prime them back up. So this one looks like it might be sliding a little bit deep just behind the button. And it's not ideal. Lots of times you'll see on the stat sheets for leads, which, is one of the most important positions, if not the most important. You'll see that they score well. Some scores might even give them a top mark for that, but that's actually not a great spot for that. If they would move that yellow rock to the top of the 4-foot or even into the 8-foot, you can do something with it. As I say to people when I coach, is that you can never tap a rock forward from the back. So it's better to be short, especially when you're a lead. No lead has ever gotten a dirty look for leaving a rock that's first rock of the end that's supposed to be top 4-foot, and they leave it top 8-foot. They might get a side glance, but they wouldn't get a dirty look. So Kendall's going to try to drop another one in here. He's going to try to choke off that button like he did last time with his rocks. And Chad's going to have to decide early in this end. Chad, this is pretty much a must-score end here, and Kendall's really going to say, he's saying, I'm putting these rocks in play. So I don't think you're going to see him go too defensive too quickly. But the 5-rock rule, which, in case you don't know what that is, back in the old days when the Barry Shears and the Peter Corkums and those folks were all going to the Briar, you could hit up and back and up and back, and the entire game could be all hits and a couple draws. My good friend of mine, Dave Wallace, played in a number of Briars and as a lead, and all he did was throw hits, which is almost unheard of in today's playing. Well, now you cannot actually remove any of the first 5 rocks at the end until, if they're in the white zone in front of the house, until the 6th rock. And the reason for that is it creates a situation where somebody gets up or down, in this case, depending on which side of the coin you like, 4, and you're still in. So those 2 blue rocks up in front of the house, they can't be removed on this stone because it's only the 5th rock of the end. I'm sure Kendall would love to throw one down there and take it off, and if he did, he could do that if he wanted to. But what would happen then is it would go back and his rock would come out of play. So it's almost a non-shot. So Kendall's going to throw one here, a top 12-foot. Another lefty here. Chris McRae's a left-handed thrower, and he's going to look to put this top 12. He really doesn't want to be short on this. That's not a bad spot, just biting.
I was 10 seconds away.
So Chad's going to use that rock, take it out, and roll over behind the corner guard, try to generate some offense. All right, well, that's a great shot. Okay, so as I mentioned, now Kendall wants to see these guards go away. Realistically, the way the end is set up right now, unless this is, he gets both of the back ones, which he just did, that it was looking good for a setup for a 2. But the good news, and everything has a good side and a bad side, is now Chad can actually move those yellows around on the 4-foot and put it behind and put it behind the cover of the other ones. So he's going to ask Graham to do that right now. All right, well, it looks like it's coming down here. Looks like he's just playing with a soft weight. He doesn't want to necessarily remove the yellow. He kind of likes having that in the back there so that it can be jammed in later. Oh, that's another good shot. Oh, that Kendall's team looks like they're really on the right side of the inch right now, and they've really been on a roll. They lost their first game in the event, and then they whipped off a number of big wins, including the win over the first place team, Jamie Murphy, and who they'd like to get back to play a second time tomorrow in the final, which is at 9 a.m. It's another early morning for the winner of this game. If it's Chad, it'll be his 4th. He's going to play 4 games in 28 hours. And if it's Kendall, then they had most of the day off, so they'll be well rested and excited. It's an exciting playing in a Tankard final is an exciting day. So it looks like they're going to play the cold draw around here now. Now they want to get a lot of separation past that yellow one, and they want to get as close to the 4-foot as they can. And this looks like it's going to do it. Like the last time, it stuck out a little inch, and as we saw, they just simply picked it off. So now it's obviously Kendall doesn't feel he can do that this time, so he's going to say, okay, I'm going to put this up here and line that up. And if he gets it in the right spot, pretty much where he's tapping there, he'll force a situation where Chad has to decide whether he can get those yellows out, because that back yellow is still shot rock and it needs to be removed before the end's over. Well, definitely be removed before the game's over. This looks really good. It's like they're on the right side of the inch today. This is a good spot, but I think Chad can come around and get in front with a cold draw and get shot. But if he can see the inside of that, if he could ever possibly see the inside of that or even knows, I thought he was going to take on just going straight back with it. But the problem with that would be is that he could pick out his blue one off the 4-foot. But it looks like he might play with a soft weight. Like I mentioned earlier, those yellow rocks behind the tee line are his friends now. They're his buddies. He's down 4. He needs to force mistakes, and the way to do that is by guards, and having rocks behind the 4-foot is important, because that way Kendall has to work around them, and they can what they call jam. If you're not a regular curler, it means that the rock goes and it hits another rock and doesn't go out. So I mentioned that directional sweeping earlier, and Kelly was just doing some of that right there, and it really did do a good job. So now it looks like blue is lying 1, but unfortunately that popped open. Positive side of that, for Chad is that he's got a blue one that he can promote back. However, he's going to be looking at three rocks in the rings and a 4-point deficit. So it's not dire, but it's not great either. Meanwhile, also on the sheet C in the ladies game, it's looks like a very typical Colleen Jones type game. They're playing the fourth end. It's 1-0, and Jill Brothers has the hammer playing the fourth. The winner of that game will move on to play Marianne Arsenault, who Colleen has played a lot with over the years, in the final. And I don't even know where the Scotties National is. So can't tell you where that is. But the final for that is at 2:30 tomorrow if you want to come down to see that. So we're going to throw the guard here, and Chad's going to have to move some granite if this is made right. And it looks like that might have overcurled. That's not what they wanted. I'm actually a little bit surprised, given the scoreboard, that they played it that way. I thought they would try to have a run at that blue on the side of the 8-foot. Unless no, it's not buried. So, sometimes you got to turn around, you got to look at the scoreboard and say, you know what, I got enough points. If he's going to make a great shot, I'm going to give him his point. And that might have been the play there. I love the way Chad just puts the broom down and carries on up the ice. And it's not a lot of discussion. He just says, I'm going to make this. He's full of confidence. Kendall's the exact same. When Kendall's feeling it, he puts the broom down and he goes up the ice. He's a great skipper, very confident out there. And he portrays that confidence, and his team feels it. So Skip is the leader. He's the quarterback of the curling team. And the linemen are a little smaller in curling than they are in football, but it's still that quarterback needs to just put that confidence into his players. And have played both these guys, I don't know, dozens of times. They're both very confident. Sometimes they can be a little hard in the brooms when things don't go the greatest, but that doesn't happen very often. So Kelly's going to try to carve this over there and let this directional sweeping, and look, it's really starting to go across, but I think it's going to be a little bit on the wide side. But now there's a bit of a situation where there's two of those in there and a rock on the side that Chad can come off of. So again, same situation as last end. Kendall's has to make a decision where if he ignores too many of the blue rocks, he could actually give a 2 or a 3 up and let Chad right back into this game. He probably should look at either drawing right to where his broom is if he's feeling that draw, which, because I mentioned Kendall's very confident, and he seems to have his draw weight in his back pocket besides that glove that's sticking out of it. And but probably at this point, hitting second shot might not be the worst call in the world, because I don't know if Chad can even remove that other one, but it did curl quite a bit. So anyway, I shouldn't be second guessing what Kendall's going to do here, because he's playing in the Tankard semifinal. And so he's going to look to put this hopefully half buried behind those yellows and lie 2, which will put Chad once again in a very difficult situation where he's going to have to make some kind of run through. Danger here is that if he ever hangs this rock out and puts it in the wrong spot, Chad can make one of his famous shots for 4. He made one earlier in the week against, I believe it was Brent McDougall, for 5. Made a triple to score 5. And just out of nowhere, looked like he was dropping 2, and he scored 5. So Kendall's going to have to be careful about that. But this is really curling. Holy mackerel. I don't know if it grabbed something or not, but this is, if that gets by there, which it did not, but that's pretty much perfect. A little bit fortunate there Probably was looking like it was going to be a little bit long, and then it grabbed a little bit of debris in the ice, which seems to happen around this point in the game when the pebble gets worn down a little bit. These rocks are sharp, so they'll grab stuff. And so now, then he came off that other one. He was definitely heavy, but you know, you got to be good to be lucky to be good, and good to be lucky. So not the ideal situation for the Stevens rink here. They're down 4, playing the 4th end of their 24th end of the day, and they're looking at drawing for 1 to go down 4, and if they miss, they go down by 6. A miss here would pretty much be the definition of a bad day, or a bad end to a good day that turned into a bad day. So he's going to hope. He does have a little bit of backing if it comes in. It comes in at a hard angle there, so he should be able to come up to the side of that one. These are 2 of the best sweepers in the province. They've played together a long time. Great judges of weight. They're off on. Looks. And it's going to be... Uh-oh. Did he touch it? Did he burn it? Well, Bryce was getting ready to sweep that rock, and I think he slipped a little bit, and he actually stopped it for them. So, you know, I guess the assist on that goes to Bryce Everst, and the point goes to Chad Stevens. Not sure if that was going to go through anyway. I think it was going to hit the yellow one, but definitely Bryce took all the guesswork out of that one. And you know, some people they would unkindly call people when they do that. They call them Bunsen for the rest of the game, Bunsen burner, because the term is burned. It's a burned rock, but. Having burned a number of them myself, I don't like that term, but I'm sure Bryce wouldn't like it that much either. But I don't think it was going through. If that makes Bryce feel any better, I think it was going to come back to that yellow one. Just gets very slow in the 4-foot at this time of the game, and you know the rocks look like they're flying in there, and they just kind of pancake out. All right, so Kelly's going to get to throw first now. So this will be coming into the 5th end, and at the end of this end, there's a 5-minute break for the players, and the ice technicians go out and they juice the ice. And Chris Grancello, their 5th player, is slicing oranges right beside me now and peeling some grapes to bring the Stevens team. And so it's a little break for everybody. And, you know, sometimes you need to use the facility because the game takes about 3.5 hours sometimes. So fortunately, this one slipped into the rings, and Michael's going to look to hit this. And ideally, he wants to hit this one and stay right there because that's be blocking the 4-foot, and he won't be able to get around it. Like I say, Michael's a great player. He's been playing great this week. This Kendall Thompson team they're just a bunch of great guys. They work hard. They work hard at the game. They practice a lot. I believe they're under the Halifax Curling Club. Yeah, they are. And I hear they're in there practicing all the time. And they're just a fun bunch of guys, as is Chad's team, of course. But. Kendall's team last year didn't make the playoffs. The 2 years before that, they were in a tiebreaker. The same situation actually Chad was in today. Chad was 3rd place last year with the same team. So back to that old 5-rock rule here. So what Chad's team did there was they threw a blue rock in front of that yellow rock. So now effectively that rock that's in the top of the 12-foot yellow, even though it's the property of Kendall Thompson, it presents an opportunity for Chad to use that as a guard and hopefully get around that. There's a little bit of wood burning now, he's thinking. He's just going to hit it. Maybe he's going to look to burn this end off. But I can't see that happening with the center guard there. Get a nice roll in behind the 12-foot extra rocks. It's hard to draw. It's hard to draw to the house when there's 2 or 3 rocks in there. Oh, brother. Roll out. That's not good. So now, 5th rock has been thrown, and now Kendall can start removing those red rocks. There's not a red rock on the sheet. Those blue rocks out of there, and Chad's going to keep putting them back up. So might be a lot of very quickly thrown rocks here. Now Rocket Man here, McRae, he can fire them 100 miles an hour. So he's going to not miss many of these peels, especially down the center line. These guys practice their peels a lot because I guess they're used to having leads, and they're good at it. The thing about the Thompson team is that they have great strategy. They'll play it up and down the sheet with you if you want to go that way. But if you want to throw down and go right into the 4-foot with them, they'll chase after you. Graham Brecken here's going to try to go to the back 8-foot. Graham Brecken was he went to the mixed a couple years ago actually with I believe Brent McDougall. So that was I think that might have been his first mixed, and I've gotten to know him quite a bit over the last couple of years. Great guy to curl with these spears for us a fair bit. He's one of the best sweepers in the province for sure. All right, so now that. They want that a little bit deeper, which goes against what I was saying earlier about being behind the tee line. But in this case, you want to have that separation from the rock that was top 12-foot. Because right now, Kendall can just hit this one on the nose like that, or just play a split. So Kendall's always thinking offense. I love his offensive-minded. So he's thinking, okay, you know what? I'll try to take 2 here. I'm not just going to run that back. 3 in the hammer's not enough for me. So he's. He might have you never know, he might have a late dinner reservation at McKelvey's or something, and he wants to get there for 10 o'clock. Now, in the stream games, they have to play 6 ends regardless of the score, but after that, you can concede at any time, which I don't think you'll see any of that happening today. But sometimes you look out there and there'll be a game where somebody's down by, 13, happened the other day. It's like, it's no fun anymore. You're not going to win. You're down more than all the rocks on your sheet. So you're allowed to concede. And you'll see that now and then. Chad looks like he's just going to try to get the perfect roll. I think Chad and company would like to be quite happy if they could escape this end with a blank or a force to go back down 4 to the point where, this looks like a pistol roll. Attaboy, nice shot. If he could escape this end, obviously he'd take a steal. He'd stick his hand out and say thank you very much if you gave him a steal, but if he could escape this end and kind of regroup and get the troops, going again, chopping a Cliff Bar, eat those oranges that Grancelli's got all sliced up here, and get some gas back in the tank. They're looking a little bit flat right now, which I can understand playing your 25th end of the day. Well, we're going to have a little bit of a conference on this one. I think they're going to... This has worked out okay for them right now. They can actually lie two, and if they can avoid that double, then they might be able to do that, get that forcer, or maybe even sneak that precious steal out of this end. I mentioned that Kelly Metalstat was 1994 Canadian junior champion, which was played in Truro, actually, which is kind of funny because he was representing Alberta at the time, and he works in Truro and has lived there. I believe he lives in Lance now. Anyway, and he beat a relatively well-known name in curling, a guy named Kevin Cooey, and my old skip Jamie Cooey was playing third for him. And a couple of old teammates of mine, Kevin Whitehead was also on that team from the Northwest Territories. In a very close final, there was a question of a burned rock in that particular final as well, and Colin Davidson came out on top in that one, and then Kelly went on with that and became a world silver medalist. Looks like they're going to try to hit this one on the nose, maybe roll a little bit to the left-hand side of the sheet, and hopefully they can push this forward with it. Oh no, they're not rolling to the left-hand side of the sheet. I can guarantee you that. But no, they're going to go for the tight roll, I think, in behind the guard now. They go up to the side of that blue one. It's not bad. No, it's not great there though. That's probably not good. All right. So Kendall's thinking now, okay, let's just get rid of these blues, make that one in the front of the rings grow up, and count two. And Chad's going to have to be starting to think and escape soon. He's going to be looking to pull the chute and snap off one of those doubles that he likes to make and push this through as a blank. The last 5, 3 points in the last 5 is not a huge insurmountable lead. On the flip side, this is a fantastic team, this Thompson team, and they're very good at the big weights. So it would be quite uncommon to see them, give away that many points unanswered in a period of time. So it's uphill battle for Chad, but I'm sure that he's he's this far into it today, he might as well not give up the ghost. I love the dynamic of watching this team chat in the house. Chad's very animated when he's talking about what he wants to play and where he wants to go, and the hands are going and the brooms are going, and Peter just kind of looks at him and nods. I sometimes wonder if Peter's listening, actually, but I'm sure he is. But they've played together a couple years now, and they know each other really well, and I don't think they have to think. Sometimes I think a lot of skips, when they talk that stuff through, they're actually saying to themselves, they're talking themselves into the shot, and it's kind of a pre-visualization thing. I know the guy I curl with, Brent McDougall, he'll sometimes go, what happens if we don't throw here? I'm like, well, they'll just draw for 2 because they're lying in the forefoot. But what he's trying to do is actually try to set in his brain where the situation comes up and walk it through. But it's just the dynamic of it, and every skip has their own little ways. And that's because three quarters of skips are crazy. So it's it's just a thing that happens when you stand down there. And if you stop skipping, you recover. That was a really great shot, and just like half buried there. So now Kendall's going to play the draw. And this is what Chad wants to have happen. He's like, right now Chad's lying shot half buried in the back of the 8-foot behind a rock that I mentioned at the beginning of the end that he would try to use as a guard. That was a rock that they hit and stayed there, which controlled the 4-foot. But as the end's gone on, that rock's actually working against them a little bit. Now that said, that rock can turn into a second point in a big hurry with a couple good shots. Kevin's going to play the out-turn draw. Ideally, he'd like to be a little bit of separation, not behind the tee line. More of a a Christmas tree is type. Show just a piece. So yeah, Chad could probably crack the double, but no, he's looking like he's going to actually come to the back a little heavier than where he originally indicated. So he's going to get his B shot, but his B shot's going to be pretty good because he's taking that out. That's not bad. Oh well, nice miss, nice try, as they say. So this is for all the money right now. If Chad can put this right on top of that, or even just slightly angled to the inside, Kendall's going to have a pretty hard decision to make because he could take a run at it and give a steal, and where Chad just indicated right there was he'd like to put it just on the even behind the tee line is not bad in this situation. He wants to force Kendall into taking a run at it by pushing that yellow rock at the top of the 12-foot. And as I mentioned earlier, those rocks behind the tee line, that makes it difficult because if that jams and he rolls off, then Chad steals a 1 and he's only down 2, which is ideal. This is going to be one of those ends where it's unlikely that it'll be a simple push. But if Chad buries it and Kendall doesn't want to take it on, he might just draw to the button and say, hey, there you go. All right, well, this looks pretty good. Chad's been pretty much nailing these all day. And I do mean all day. It's for anybody just tuning in now. Chad's on his 3rd game of the day. We have the end count now. It's not how many games, it's how many ends. He's in 25 ends. He's been standing in the ice for over 7 hours and making fantastic shots like that. That's pretty much perfect, but there's enough of it seen there that Kendall thinks that he can just nose hit it, I think, and get 2 of them, and bounces off the back, which would be for 2, which wouldn't be ideal. Chad would be down 5, Kendall would be up 5, so I'd like to see a close game here. Kendall's team is really feeling it. Like I said, they're a great team, so well, they're sweeping this one early, but no, off on. That's usually a pretty good sign that he's got a good shot. And, just after I said it's unlikely that there'll be a score of 1, there's a score of 1. So don't go to the bank with that. All right, so we're going to take a 5-minute break here, and we'll join you when we start up the 6th. gonna have to just talk. So, Chad's hoping to get a roll under here. Just get the center guard. So it looks like we're going to play the hit and roll under here. All right, so he's got one buried under that guard. Unfortunately for Chad, very fortunately for Kendall, he can actually play the angled run in here. And I guess we're back up and running here. That's good. Okay, great. I had to go down. The audio technician had had muted for the fifth end break and then forgot to turn it back on. So everything that I've said since the fifth end break didn't matter. So I was saying all kinds of great things about both teams and lots of history about what great curlers they are and you know how great their fifth man is and all this stuff, but none of that made the air, so that's all great. So this looks like they're just making everything right now. That's perfect, right? Like not only did he get the blue out, he actually rolled over behind the sponge towel and his own guard, more importantly. So now Chad's thinking, okay, great. So here I am. I don't really want to score one and go down 3 without the hammer, but how do I blank this? The way Peter's looking at it doesn't look like it's going to work real well. So here we go. So he's gonna take a run at this, and you know I think both these teams are playing well, and but this Kendall Thompson team is red hot right now, and they're making all kinds of great shots. Chad's team's making great shots. Kendall's team is just answering their shots with equally as good shots and then better timing. So we're going to try the blank here, and this looks pretty good if it's by the front. Oh, now Peter's going to try to get that out, and the rings are really heavy here. There was you know, they're kind of, sometimes they melt in. It's very hard to throw any kind of light weight. You'll see at the Briar when sometimes these rocks will pop and spin. Well, that's not what's been happening here this week. The rings have been quite heavy, and you know, we've seen doubles where, you know, the rocks are thrown with firm and it doesn't come out of the house. And a lot of that has to do with just the amount of play you see. Like there's 3 draws a day all week, and in this particular sheet here, this is the 3rd game on this sheet today. So it's just a busy day for the ice. And though the ice doesn't get tired, it needs to cool down. The cooler the ice, and if they're constantly playing on it, then it gets a little bit heavier. So anyway, yes, Scott, we did use a hanger and duct tape to fix the audio. Thank you for your input. Scott Zachary from the Murphy team giving me a little bit of razz for the technical difficulties we had there earlier. Scott's obviously watching from home, getting ready for his, I believe, 4th Briar final or Tankard final. I'm sure he wished it was the Briar final in 4 years, so that's good, and we wish him all the best tomorrow. So this is do or die time for Chad. You're going to see him go. You're going to go see him go center guard. So the whole math has changed now. So my skip is heavy into the math of curling. This is pretty straightforward now. It's thief, thief, steal, steal, thief, steal, steal. You know, he can afford to give them 1 point back, but he needs to steal this end, and then he can give them 2, and he can give 1 back to Kendall in the next end, and then he needs to go 2 and then another steal. So he needs to steal 2 out of the next 3 ends or score a big end, and I just don't see a big end happening right now with the way that this, as I've nicknamed them, the Fab Four, the Keo team, or Keo, the Kendall Thompson team is playing. So So Chad's going to be throwing these guards. This 5 rock rule works to his advantage. It's the good thing is when you score and you need to have the 5 rock rule is that you actually, it goes quite a bit deeper into the end before the other team can take it away. So they will be able to actually throw another guard here and get another one around it before Kendall's team can take it out. So that steal, and even though it's 1 point at this point, is extremely important, because being down 2, playing 8 without the hammer is doable, but being down 4 with the hammer playing 8 is pretty much dead in the water. But stranger things have happened. But not the way these teams are playing. These are Tankard semifinalists. This isn't Friday Night Teachers League or something. This is the big time. So Michael Brophy's gonna. I love the way Kendall calls this. It's like, all right, fine, got a couple guards up here. Let's just go to the 4 foot. The heck with it, right? I don't mind the 4 foot. 4 foot with my yellow rocks is great. I don't mind scoring 2 or 3 here and getting to my New Scotland product early. So it's but Chad doesn't mind this either. But Chad's gonna want to say, okay, I want to freeze that. Now this rock is slipping to the tee line, and it's like people say, well, it's not behind the tee line, so that's not bad, but it's not very hard to put that behind the tee line. Chad didn't think about that very long. He knows exactly where he wants to put it. He's got Graham Brecken, his longtime buddy from Chester, doesn't live there anymore, but and these guys have been playing together since before they were shaving, I think. So he's gonna put that in there, and Kendall's gonna be thinking, all right, I got a lot of rocks in play here now. I want to get those blue ones off the front. The blue ones aren't set up very well either for Chad, because the double peel is quite easy, and he's got Chris the Bomb McCrae throwing here next, who loves to throw them really hard, and it's almost a sonic boom when he lets some of these go. So Graham's got it. It's a good spot. He doesn't even have to get to them. That's not bad. It's not ideal, obviously, but it's not bad. This will force him to shoot. Challenge here is on the double peel is that if you play the top one across the other one, that will probably put the blue back in. You might get all 3 blues, but the other problem is that it could actually go across and then go straight back on the nose, back on those yellow ones, which are at the tee line, and all of a sudden Chad's lying 1 or 2 with backing. We're going to have a little discussion here. Bryce just went down to talk it over, but I think they're going to take this double peel on. Thing is that Chris throws it so hard that once things start spinning, they have a tendency to keep spinning. So this looks like it's really good. Probably going to be just a single peel. It looks like it's going to go across the top. Oh, actually he pumped it back just an inch. You just have to hit a millimeter of that in order to make that happen. Right, so that's good news for Chad here. He'll probably play a draw right there. So now Kendall will probably need to play another peel here, or I don't see a run through coming through anytime soon. This is pretty much like Chad's team needs to almost make every shot now in this end, because they really need that. They really need to get the points on the board. Those arms have got to be feeling pretty tired when you're playing your end 27th of the day. And it's not only 27 ends of curling. There's pre-game practice. Now they had their 5th man out there throwing some rocks for some reason. I haven't figured that one out yet. He's sitting beside me. I'm just pulling his leg, but. They had their practice, and there wasn't draws to the button today, so they didn't have to sweep those, so they were saving themselves a little bit. But that's a lot of ice time. That's a lot of leg time. It's a lot of pushing out of the hack. Like I mentioned earlier, that the ice is getting tired. Just imagine what those legs are like on those men. So as mentioned, he's just going to take this center guard off now. The rock that was just thrown by the Stevens team is not exactly ideal. They're going to have to rearrange that. So they're probably going to be forced now. They'll probably put another guard back up, actually, but Peter's looking at moving those around. Like, you don't have to score a bunch here, just a single steal. This is a game of pressure, and if you got to get the team in the point of pressure. Like, I don't know what it's going to take the wind out of the Avenger Thompson team today, because they're just making everything. But it's good to see them matching up to their superhero outfits for sure. So we're going to see Peter play. I think they're just playing a center guard by the looks of that ice, which Kendall will just have to remove. If you're going to make those moves on the rocks in the 4-foot, you want to do it later in the end when there's not as many shots to come. Oh, he is going to play the tap back. Okay. So ice is moving a little more. It's not running at 420 anymore. It's running at about 370. I'm going to take a split on this guy. Yeah, 370 is the split. So what that is, that split time, and for those people who don't follow that, I know we don't use those in the Teachers League. Is when people are sliding, you take a time that starts at the back line, which is the first line you come to when you come out of the hack, and then you stop at the hog line. And what that does is it gives you a feeling for how fast the person is sliding. And then there's long times too where you go hog line to hog line, and those. That we're down to about a 13.5 right now down that middle patch. It gets pretty. There's lots of terms for it: fudgy, squishy, sloppy. And that's just from the use of that part of the sheet. So we're going to see. But the thing is when you're the one who's drawing, it's much more difficult. So Bryce is going to try to ram a couple of these out here with a bullet. Oh, that one's flying. So he's going to hope, and he'd actually like to take out one of his yellows at the same time, but no, that didn't work out. So again, not the worst situation for Chad, and not the worst situation for Kendall. I sound like I really can't find a position here, but yellow rocks. Kendall's thinking, okay, if you make a mistake here, this is going to be game over, and your Tankard dream is going to end. And Chad's thinking, you know what, I'm a wily veteran here, and I see rocks behind the tee line, and I'm going to make those my best friend. So it's a real cat and mouse game going on here. Peter's going to play this to tap that back. Like I said, they want to do it later in the end. Sometimes you want to play those later in the end if you have some skips don't hit all that well, but that's not the case with Kendall Thompson. He's a fantastic hitter and an amazing drawer. So that's not it, but it's like they want to get it down to the point. They'd like to see Chad closing it out. Now, if this bounces wrong, Kendall throws that big weight so well that he'll just kill all three blues, and it'll be a situation where it might be time to head upstairs for your favorite beverage. So how'd this work out? I have an overhead view here, which I don't know if you guys have. That worked out pretty well. He didn't get shot rock, so that's a disappointment. But the other thing is, like, if you look at the way that those front two blues are lined up, they're lined on the third blue. So no matter how hard you throw it, they're always going to smash into the other ones. But Kendall feels, I'm guessing, that the way it'll come off, if he hits the side of it, it'll push a little bit. People have names for it: the pusher, the drag. And if it comes to the side, then all those rocks start to spin. And even though those hoses are quite heavy, extremely heavy actually, it's when the rocks are spinning, they'll keep moving. Oh, looks like he was throwing this one already. A little speed wobble there.
We're talking like a rocker.
Right, so that's curling quite a bit. Probably not going to get a lot of drag effect, but he did the job. And see that one spinning out the side? That's exactly what it's saying. That once they start spinning, they'll keep going. Not the worst situation for the Stevens team. They could play this hit here. I think they should draw around those ones that are in the 12-foot, 8-foot, and go back 8 foot and take on that draw. But, I guess the other thing here is that they can lie 3, and when you're down 3, lying 3 sounds really cool. So, As Sean Connery would say here, I shall make this and make him suffer. So we're going to get this down here, and he's going to try to put it in situation. And Kendall's is Kendall sitting there going, that's fine, make that. I'm going to play a double off that blue on the left-hand side, or off of the one you're throwing into the one on the right-hand side. And then I've always have that yellow rock to tap back. So that's where his mind is. So it's a cat and mouse game, and the great thing about these guys all play so much is that they both know those positions, and they've both been in the positions themselves. And as I said, here goes Kendall. He says, okay, I'm going to play the double off of that. So the great thing about this double for Kendall is that he can make it perfect, obviously, which is what I expect. But even if he misses it a little bit, there's a second rock that he can fly into. So, nope, he's going with a whole different call than the one I called. He's going to play off his yellow. This one here, a little bit dangerous, but you know what? When you're throwing great, it's like when you're on the golf course and you can sink every putt that's 5 feet, you just take it on. The risk here is that if he ever overcurls that, all of a sudden he's throwing against 4 on his last, and I think that might be what Michael was just saying to him. Nope, I was just giving him a time. And but on the other side, he can get all 3 right here, right now. This could be the shot that wins the semifinal for him right here. So this looks pretty ideal, and there we go. 1, 2. Count them up. There's 2 gone. Now that one, here we go, that spinning thing again. So now, as I mentioned earlier, Chad can force him to 1 once. So he's probably going to say, all right, we've got to put one right there where Peter said, make him hit on the side. I have no doubt that Kendall's going to make that. And Chad's going to go into the 8th end down 4 with the idea of scoring 2 and 8, and then steal 1 and 9, steal 1 and 10, steal 1 and 11, which sounds like a big task, but when you're on your 27th end of the day, it's probably not the worst task in the world. All right, so we'll get a split time here, so we'll let you know what it is. If you remember early in the game, it was 4:20. Things were really good then, and then it dropped to about 4:05 split time, and now then it was 3:83. So this is going to be a draw to the top 8 foot. We'll take a little split time here and see where this ends up. And 380. So that's probably a little light, but probably going to get it there. So the term you'll hear people say is like they're going to keep it in the good stuff. So they're out there on that. If they keep it out on that side of it, and then when it comes into that middle, you'll see it slow down a little bit and that kind of sludge up a bit, which is exactly what's happening. And of course, absolute perfect shot. Now, can Kendall hit it on the nose? I think he can hit it on the nose, which is not what Chad wanted. Well, they're not 100% sure. Throw it hard and carry through, maybe. That's in some of the older sheets and rocks. You could throw it really hard and the rock would slide forward after it hit. Maybe that's the solution he was. But if he's thinking about rolling, so he's not bought in that he can hit this on the nose and score. So he's going to try to roll here. When rolling it becomes somewhat dangerous, because if he rolls out here and then that's that steal that Chad's looking for, and that steal kind of came out of nowhere. But that's why he put 2 rocks in the house. This is a big pressure game, and Kendall's a cool customer. A great admiration for him, and I don't think he even knows. I saw him when they beat the Murphy team the other night. He did a little celebration, and that was the first time I think I've ever seen him show emotion at the end of a game. So it's he's a cool cat, that's for sure. This is looking like it's going to be a nose hit at best. So Bryce is playing for the nose, and then we'll likely see a measure. They seem to be happy with it. Yep. 1 yellow. So pretty straightforward. It's been the tail of the game has been slow start by the Stevens team, and Thompson team comes out like a house on fire and gets up by 4. Stevens has been chasing the entire game, making good shots, putting rocks in good places, but the Thompson team just turns around and makes better shots. And lots of hits. They're a great hitting team. They're a great drawing team too. They're not really showing that in this particular game. but their ability to handle the big weight and is probably second to none in this province. So the winner of this event will go to the, like I mentioned, the Tim Hortons Briar in Kingston. I'm actually going to be up there myself. I'm doing some reporting for the Northern News Service. I have some old friends of mine in Yellowknife. I've been doing some writing for them for over 10 years. So it'll be great to see the winner there. The only team that's declared, besides obviously the defending champion, Mr. Cooey, is Brian Cochran, actually. And Brian Cochran is a name that most people be familiar with from Ontario, and has represented Ontario at the Briar. But with the new rule this year, that birthright rule they call it, that if you're born in a place that you can curl out of that place for whenever, then so there's 2 guys on Brian Cochran's Canadian Championship senior team that are from PEI, and you're allowed to have one what they call import. So they said, hey, they're probably sitting around having a glass of milk, and so Brian's in the dairy business, and said, hey, why don't we play out of PEI? So they played out of PEI, and they picked up I don't know, he has about 17 Purple Hearts, the Mark O'Rourke, and sure enough, they went through undefeated in the PEI Tankard, so that's been declared as well. The rest of the playdowns are going to take place next week, and they'll all join our winner the first week of March. All right, so Kendall's got to be feeling pretty good right now with a 4-point lead. Most people do, but sometimes you're never comfortable till it's over. Just getting an update from another member of Murphy's team here. Paul sent me a note that just mentioned, I'm just seeing on the TV that Chad's daughter actually, it's interesting, Chad's on his 3rd game and Stevens are on the 4th game of the day. His daughter's playing Alberta in the 4th end of the Canadian Championship semifinal, and she is currently down by 1 point, but does have the hammer. So thanks for that, Paul. So it's I did just put that game on the TV. Now I got 2 games to watch. It's even more difficult. So here we go. Chad's going to play the kind of trying to lop one around the outside here and try to get buried. Kendall's got this well set up. That rock behind the tee line, though, again, that's always trouble. Like it's just when I coached one year, it was like every time you put a rock behind the tee line, you had to buy the coach a drink, and it was like it seemed like a great idea at the time until I made them pay up, and it was a fun night, but one that I shan't repeat anytime soon. Shaken, not stirred. But so here we go. So we're getting that second guard up. We're coming into it's only the 5th rock of the end, so they still can't remove it. So Kendall's gonna have to put another one. The way Kendall is, the mastery that he's used on this, with the way he's using putting these draws in places, and they're putting them in the right places. I did mention that one being behind the tee line, which hasn't come back to bite them too bad as of yet, but he's cutting these corners off. So what he's looking to do here is actually what they call cutting the corner off. So he's looking to get 3/4 of the way or halfway around this so you can see half the rock, but that way Chad can't draw around it. But if he does go around it on the outside of the sheet, then they can just move that rock into that. looks like this is pretty good. Looks like it's starting to get a little slow down the middle. This is 2 or 3 of these that just haven't glided, if that's a word. A glid, as my old friend Tom Nogler up in the Northwest Territories used to say. But that worked out pretty much exactly the way that I described there. So they're half around. They can't get around that way. But you may see that Chad say, okay, well, that's fine. I'm going to take advantage of this rock that you have on the button now, and I'm going to go right there where he has his broom on the button. And even if that's just a little bit to the inside, but if he can go edge to edge on that, and then he can probably get it to the point where if they hit it hard, it'll just squirt over behind. Well, Graham Brecken is going to throw this down here. That looks a little bit on the big, but as I mentioned, see, they're actually sweeping that right now, not for weight, but to get it to curl into the heavier stuff. And it's working, but now they've figured they've got to hit that rock. So I don't know if I missed the call or if Graham just overthrew that there. But that's not a bad situation with that, with the yellow rock behind the tee line. I think Kelly was just saying to Chad there that, you know, it's there's some better ice up there, and he was trying to get it to curl into the heavier stuff. Bryce come down again and have another chit chat, patty whack with Kendall, and it's like I said, these guys work so well together. Bryce is a really, really smart curler, and they're smiling a little bit out there, so I think they're enjoying themselves. But you know, pressure's on. Like, they want to get to the biggest game of their life tomorrow against the Murphy team and their 13 Purple Hearts. 13, that's right, 13. And, you know, they have a grand total of 0. And, you know, meanwhile, the Stevens team has, if you count their 5th man, it doesn't even have half that 13. So it's a big game for both. Played in these games myself, and, you know, you just cannot let yourself get caught up in the moment. You can't think about it. You have to think about the process, not the result. Second, you start letting your mind kind of, as soon as you start letting your mind kind of wander away to the point where it's like, you know, this could be for that, or whatever, or even what am I having for supper, or, you know, why didn't I have a donair last night? All of a sudden you come back and say, what happened here? I have no idea what happened, but now we're losing. That was an interesting call. I don't know if I liked it a whole lot with a 4-point lead, but right now Chad's lying shot rock and drawn to lie second shot. So Chad's saying, giddy up, let's go here. One ping only, they say. Let's get this in here. And, you know, now 3's in play now, right? Like, this is the thing. Like, all of a sudden 3's in play. And, you know, yeah, Grancelli's shaking his head beside me, so he sees it too. It's like so I don't know if, like, 3 was in play for a while, but right now that rock that they just tapped up with is acting as a guard for them, against them. Now they can run that back in later, and that might be the one that gets run back in. But so right now, that's a really great shot. Now, of course, Kendall's going to have the opportunity to slam one of those yellows in there, and Bryce loves this type of shot. But no, he's see, here's the thing. Now he's going to play off the back. That's going to be behind the tee line. So, and Chad has a lot of ways in there right now. So Bryce might actually be better served to roll away than to roll under there, because he's not going to be able to get shot. And then that'll set up something on the last. I'd put my money on Bryce making this. He's an amazing player. He throws that in turn probably better than most in the province. He's got a nice straight release on it, and he gets nice movement on his rocks. Not ideal. Chad's kind of liking this now. There's 5 yellows in the house, and 2 of them are guarding his blue rock, and 2 of them are behind his blue rock. So that's not the worst. So if Chad can hit and roll over here off of off of Bryce. I was surprised that Bryce, when he let that go, I thought for sure was going to get it some kind of roll on it. I'm surprised he was nose. If he can get this roll here, Kelly Metalstat looks like he's getting a little bit of adrenaline back, so that's good. He was looking a little bit tired there, which is understandable on N28 of the day. And they got, well, that's a pretty pistol roll. So now the question becomes, is Kendall going to take on that raised double? Is he going to tap it up, maybe split it open? Yeah, he's thinking he wants to take that on for sure. So it's he might want to consider. I'm surprised he's not, because Kendall's so aggressive on the draws and very confident. He might want to consider just lobbing one underhand down there and dropping it right on top of that one that's on the button. This run through, if you miss it, then Chad's going to lob one there, probably on the outside down on top of the rock that's on the forefoot. It's like it's funny. My mother-in-law is from Holland, and Koba, she's listening, so shout out to you, Koba. And she's you try to explain this sport, and it's like, I don't think she understands a lot of the terminology, but when you're learning this game, but like this, when I say lob and underhand, what I mean is that you just throw one out there nice and soft on top of that one that's right behind the button, and it would be very, very difficult to remove that one. With this particular shot, this can be great. Like this, they can be lying, well, I don't even know. Like if they hit that just off nose, in order to make that double, there's a good chance that blue rock is going to smash into that yellow rock at the back of the 8-foot and roll away. So Chad's still looking good for his 2. At this point in time, they should almost be thinking about giving Chad his 2 and saying, that's fine. I don't mind being up 2 at the hammer in the Tankard semifinal. But if they ever go through the middle of those 2, that could be hell on wheels. It's not going to go through the middle, though. Just like that, and it's like that's a really good shot. I'm not surprised. Bryce throws those amazing, as I mentioned earlier, but the downside here now is just what I said about that did jam in the back. So now Chad has to make a decision. But the blue rock, I just said the blue 5, but you guys can't see the numbers on them. That blue rock there is open and available, so Chad's going to try to corner tuck that around. So Kendall's happier now, and that was a great shot that he made. And but again, I've said this a number of times in the game. Both skips are happy right now because Chad wants guards and he wants rocks behind the tee line. He's getting both. Kendall wants to have his rocks and control the forefoot, and he's having both. Kelly Metalstat is just the most amazing sweeper I've ever had the privilege to watch. His intensity level is amazing, but he's such a good judge of weight. So that's not a bad spot. It's not great, but they can come off that yellow, but he shouldn't be able to get both of them. And somebody might think you might want to take it on from the side, and can you hit it thin enough? But with the yellow being where it is on the button, it won't go past it. So Chad's looking good for his 2 here. Kendall's made some great shots. Like that one going the other way was ridiculous, but the So that wasn't technical difficulty. I was trying to figure out what they're playing here. That just doesn't look like enough ice, but maybe it's straighter there. Maybe they are playing straight crotch, and when I say crotch, I mean hitting it between the 2 of them. But no, he's obviously he thinks he can get both of them, and he didn't. So now, as Peter's indicating there, they can play a hit and roll under there. They could probably hit and roll to the wide side. So it's this is it for Chad. This is do or die time. Like he's got this isn't the easiest shot in the world. And some people may say, well, why doesn't he just lob one on top of the blue there, on top of the forefoot, which is actually what I think he's going to do. So that's why people would ask that. And other people would say, well, hold on a second. There's one here on the top on the button. Why don't they hit that one? Well, the thing is that if you hit that one, then you're going to give Kendall, who's I think made 5 doubles in the game so far, you're going to give him that option of making that double. So you want to throw that in there, and then Kendall, people say, well, he's just going to guard. Well, he's guarding against the possible risk of 3. So, it's a game of pressure, and as Sean Connery would say, the pressure is what gets you, not the bullet. But and so that's what you want to do there, is put pressure on the other team. So all of a sudden you're leading a Tankard semifinal by 4 points, and all of a sudden if you miss your shot, you're 3. You're going to be only 1 point. Well, that's what happened in the Matt Manuel game. Matt did the exact same thing to Chad in reverse, and the next thing you know, he scored a 2 and then stole a 1, then stole another one. It's tied coming home. So it's Chad saw it done in real life earlier today. Matt came up just a couple inches short from that complete comeback, but Chad's thinking the same thing. He's thinking, I can do that. Now this one looks like it's got a curl, and this looks like it may not work out perfectly. Well, that's a problem. So, not a problem if you're Kendall Thompson. It's a problem, Kendall's been controlling this and putting rocks in good spot the whole game, and forcing Chad to miss. And Kendall's I think he's gonna play off his own yellow, and he's gonna go into that one and take that one out. Now it'll probably jam on the yellow in the back 8 foot. That's fine, and but he should be buried too, and he's gonna force Chad to play a low percentage shot. So this is going to be the end where Chad either makes an amazing shot or shakes hands. Oh, he's playing it soft. Speaking of soft, it looks like it's curling in the soft area in the middle, but I think he's okay. They're holding it. How much is that going to roll off there? Oh, yeah, that's pretty fortunate. Oh boy. So got to be lucky to be good and good to be lucky, right? So keep your stick in the ice, drink lots of water. 15 or 16 other Brent McDougall expressions, and it's not good for Chad right now. He can't nose hit that. I don't know what he has. Kendall, like that. Don't know. I don't see anything here. Timeout. They don't see anything either. Here goes the 5th man. I hope he sees something for them. Well, I got a couple seconds here while they're looking this over. I'd just like to thank Deloitte. I'd like to thank all the volunteers. Our ice maker, Tracy Frav, for providing ice this week, and his ice crew has worked very hard. The bartenders who've been working very hard, but I'm glad we have to see this thing. And most of all, the members of this club, they've done an amazing job volunteering and giving up their club. There's 3 years in a row that they've done this. I've played in all the last 3 of these events, and the hospitality is amazing. It's just a good facility, and Dartmouth Curling Club has great people. It's just amazing. And of course, Deloitte, our title sponsor for the Tankard, Matt Harris and company, and can't remember the name of the woman who spoke at the opening right now, but she thank you to them, and of course curling's oldest sponsor, Scotty's with Kruger Products, current owner of that particular corporation. Thank you so much for that. And this looks like I think this is gonna, I'm going out on a limb here. He's got this double, which is low percentage, but if anybody can make it, it's Chad. But wow, I think it's kind of around the horn. He can come off the blue, onto the yellow, onto the other yellow, and then up to the third yellow. And you don't need to take that one out. Well, you do actually. So, and that could be for as many as 3. If you miss it, it could be a steal of 1, and that's it. Then you'll see the Kendall Thompson team licking their chops, getting ready to take on my buddy Scott Zachary, Paul Fleming, Phil Kroll, and that picked. So it's going to be, and that's just it. That's the ball game. Down 5 is going to play it. They're going to play, I guess. That's what the heck, right? You know, you miss 100% of the swings you don't take. So that's not good. Pretty low percentage right now, but Chad wants to make sure he gets the 29th and 30th ending maybe of the day, and feel bad for them. What a great story it was. You know, they played in less than 24 hours. They've played 4 games, or so just 30 in less than 28 hours. They've played 4 games. So it's a big deal. Meanwhile, Kendall's team, well deserved. They've had a great week. They pushed through. They're just a great bunch of guys, as I mentioned earlier, and they played smart. And you know, they've lots of times looked over at games. We played them. We had an amazing game with them. It was back and forth, and they came through on top. And I looked at a number of games, and that looked like it came through on top. So, you know, it's like I mentioned at the last round robin game. Both Chad could have been out if actually Brent McDougall, my team, had have lost to Matt Manuel, and the Brent McDougall team had been eliminated already. But in the spirit of a round robin, they came out and they beat Matt Manuel, which created a situation where all these tiebreakers, which is why Stevens was playing so much. If Matt Manuel had beat Brent McDougall, then Chad would have been eliminated, and possibly Kendall could have been eliminated. One of those 2 teams would have been eliminated already, and Stuart Thompson, who was also in tiebreaker, would have also been eliminated. And as a matter of fact, there was another scenario where Murphy could have been 3rd. So it was round robins create this really fun dynamic where you never know what's going to happen. In the women's last year, I believe after the round robin, 1 team was eliminated, and then there was all kinds of tiebreakers. So it's an interesting format. So they're playing the tick shot here, which is a pretty safe bet. So the tick shot here is, as a matter of fact, that's Jacqueline, my spouse, mentioned her, what is this tick shot thing earlier, and I said, I told her you're not allowed to remove the rock from play, but what you do is you push it over there, which actually my guy I curl with on Friday nights, Scott, he does that all the time, but he's the skip, and he does it on his last rock when he's playing appeal, and he just ticks it to the side, but he almost misses it. So just a little bit of a ribbing for Scott, but also undefeated in Teachers League, so he's a happy guy. So they'll keep throwing corners here. Now what's going to happen now, because though they tick that in the rings, you're going to see Kelly throwing up here. Now Chad pretty much has to get a 3 in this end. Like down 5, like there's not a lot of commentators that know what to say down 5. It's usually like your deal or your round. So they'll try to get this close so that they can tick that in again, and Chad will say, fine, there's 2 of my rocks in the house. I'm good with that, right? I'll take this 3, right? Because he's going to have to steal 2 coming home after getting a 3 this end, and that's just to get to an extra end. Not a great situation, but not the worst situation in the world either. He could be up here commentating, and I could be out there, so that would be not as good for him, better for me. So you're going to see very shortly that as you can see here now, because they ticked that one in the house and it's not fully guarded, Chris Rocketman McRae here is going to try to take this out. But he can't play that big weight that he's so well known for, because he needs to curl a little bit after it gets by the high one. And he can't take that blue one out. So it looks, I can't really see, I'm not directly behind the sheet, but he wants to, yeah, see, that's what he wanted to do. So like, yeah, they're just making everything. It's like, hello. Yeah, it's I know the Murphy team's watching this broadcast, because some of them have been texting me, and I'd say you guys better get up early and have your Fruit Loops, because these guys are coming to play you tomorrow. Not counting Chad out, but as after that shot, it's not looking good. So it's going to be an interesting final tomorrow, 9 a.m. bright and early. For those of you who get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, go for a jog. Just end your jog at the Dartmouth Curling Club, and they'll have a coffee and and a homemade tea biscuit and watch a great Tankard final. And the ladies' final will be tomorrow. Now, in that game, which has been a little bit closer, I haven't watched very much of it. It's classic Colleen Jones. It was blank the first end, blank the second one. Colleen scored 1 and 3, stole 1 and 4, stole 1 and 5, and then brother said, "Okay, fine, my turn." She takes 2 and 6, and then steals 1 and 7, so it's tied, playing 9. Or I don't know what happened in 8. So when that gets posted, I'll let you know. Yeah, there's Rocket Man firing his pistol peel down there. So it's always tough, it's for Chad and company. It's a long day for them and a long week for them, and Chad may be, the person who's been the closest without going to the Briar, that he's been most successful without the Purple Heart, I guess would be the best way to put it. And a lot of people would have loved to see this be Chad's year, but it's like next year's another year. Or again, unless something really kind of wonky happens here in the next few minutes, I can't see anything happening. And Kendall's he's not even playing around with guards anymore, or putting rocks in the house anymore. He's just peeling everything in sight. Those Deloitte signs get in the way, he'll peel them out of there too. So in the ladies' game, Colleen's game over there, they're just hitting rocks, which is no surprise if you followed Colleen Jones over the years. Patience, patience, patience. And the Colleen's team and her World Championship team is actually reuniting and playing seniors this year with Marianne Arsenault. So would be quite funny to see a situation where if Colleen were to win this game, that she would then turn around and play against her to-be teammate in 2 weeks at the Nova Scotia Seniors in Toronto, Nova Scotia. So we're getting pretty deep into this end. I'd say Chad's looking good to get a 2 in this end, just the way that it's probably going to play out. But then down 3 without the hammer coming home is less than ideal. I think if I look it up here, it's definitely less than ideal. Been in that situation a number of times myself. I can't remember ever winning. So we'll see. Bryce's looks like he's going after. No, he's going after the front one, I think. So what? Good shot. Like I got to tell you, like I would say we don't have statistics here, but I would say that the Kendall Thompson team is probably curled in the 90% tile today, and Kendall himself has probably got to be high 90s. I do not recall him missing a shot. Like if you look at the scoreboard, 4 and 6 were both forces on Stevens, and they weren't mistakes by Stevens. They were draws against multiple points, and then those steals that you're seeing on the board are in situations where Kendall put it where Chad. So Chad wasn't missing easy shots. Kendall's just been putting the pressure on him the entire game. The thumb screws have been on him, and he's come through in a number of situations. But this team is absolutely red hot. I think you'll see if Kendall makes this double. I think you'll just see this end play out, and then the Velcro slap will happen, and we'll shake hands. Like the body language of the Stevens team is just a little bit on the downside now. The adrenaline's draining from the body, and you're in your 29th end of the day. You look at the other end, the two guys are sitting there and look like they're waiting for a bus, and Kelly and Graham are looking tired, and I don't blame them. I'd be tired after 2 games. They've had 3, right? Kendall kind of shoved that one back a bit, but I think he's going to hit one of them and go under the other. Nope. That's just the way his day's going. It's like he's just making everything. So yeah, Chad's kind of smiling. It's like, yeah, you can't capture lightning in a bottle. He's thinking. It's like So Chad's just going to throw one down there, try to get in front of that one on the back 4 foot, and then hopefully you'll see him miss. Maybe he gets 2. I don't know if they'll play it up down 3. Like I said, like you're not beating this team today. And look out Murphy. Of course, Murphy's a pretty amazing team themselves. So like I mentioned, those 13 Purple Hearts, and that's not even counting their coach, who's got another 7 himself. So it's gonna be a big day. So Chad's just gonna watch this one go down. It's gonna slide in there. Kendall at this point really, he's probably gonna take a run at that, throw it hard. The way he's playing today, it'll probably somehow get out of there very easily and I don't know, deliver a pizza or something. I don't think there's just down a note here. Somebody said the split time's still 420. They're not 420 anymore. They've come down to 380. Like I mentioned, those 420 times are nice, but they don't last long. It eventually comes down. All right, Kendall, which will likely be his last delivery of this game, but not of the 2020 Tankard Championship here in Dartmouth. Yeah, there you go. That's it. Can't catch lightning in a bottle, and that man is red hot and on fire. So congratulations. So the final, as you can hear Matt Manuel in the background saying they're heading to Sunday, baby. So popular win. Though he curls on the Halifax Curling Club, his roots are here in Dartmouth. Great team, good job, and now they're off to their first Tankard final to play off against the Murphy team at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning here at the Dartmouth Curling Club. Just before I go, the Nova Scotia game at the Nationals is currently in the 6th end. Nova Scotia's tied without the hammer, and then in the Colleen Jones game, Colleen is down up 1 without the hammer, playing 9. And that's it. This is Martin Gavin. Thanks to y'all. Brent McDougall, hope you're feeling better. And we'll see y'all soon.
What do you think, Marty? I think you should put up a guard.
I was thinking like, do I just do pretend I got shown around? You think shown around?
Yeah. Make up a guest. Guest host. What do you think? All your friends.
Too bad I'm gonna miss it, eh?
They shall be succinct.
I might come down for an hour.
You don't have to.
How rude. And I've been nice to him.
Good job, Marty. Did you come back on, by the way?
Yeah, there was a glitch downstairs.
It happened the other night too.
Before Alberta.